Welcome to this week's edition of the Main Street TV Local Sports Break. Hi, I'm your host, Ralph Miranda. Well, the Rebels come off a big win over Science Hill last Friday night. A homecoming win for the Rebels, 37-18, puts them at 3-2 for the season, and the midway point as they get ready to make their final push for the playoffs. So we'll be joined by Coach Derek Hunt, as we are every week. We'll talk about the game Friday night against Science Hill, some of the things they did well, some of the things maybe that they did not do so well. We'll talk about some of the young guys who got an opportunity to play Friday night, sophomores and freshmen even at quarterback that got a chance to play for Maryville and may have a direct impact on the result of this season for the Rebels. We'll also talk about some of the guys, both offense, defense, and special teams that have really shown up this year and especially last Friday night in the game against Science Hill. And then we'll move on to Hardin Valley, Maryville's next opponent that they'll play on the road next Friday night. Talk a little bit about the Hardin Valley Hawks. They are getting better. They were pretty good for a while a few years back, fell on some hard times, and now they're starting to climb their way back into the upper echelon. They're 3-2 as well. They run the wing T offense, which is a very run heavy offense, and most of you probably know that, but it's very difficult to prepare for because not many high school teams run it. So we'll talk a little bit about that. All that and more on the Main Street TV Local Sports Break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Main Street TV Local Sports Break. Hi, I'm your host, Ralph Miranda. I'm joined again, as we are every week, by the head football coach of the Maryville Rebels, Coach Derek Hunt. Coach, big win Friday night over Science Hill, a team, as we talked about last week, that is usually a pretty tough football team. I mean, they make the playoffs, it seems like, almost every year, and you guys are very familiar with them, having faced them in the playoffs many times over the past. But a big win, 37-18. What were your initial thoughts coming out of that game Friday night?
Yeah, so was happy to get the win. A good 6-18. They're probably going to be the 2C in that region,
right?
Like 1, 2, or 3. They'll be at the top. They're athletic. They've got a couple of receivers that also play corner that are nice players. Running back's a good athlete. They've got a couple guys on defense that gave us some issues. I mean, so they've got some. It's not like they're not a good football team. They are. They had a quarterback swap at halftime that I think definitely gave them a different dynamic. So yeah, I mean, I was pleased with the win. I thought first half defense played really, really well. It took us a bit to adjust to their passing attack in the second half because that's not what they really did with the first quarterback, and not really played anybody else but him the whole season. So that was an adjustment for us, but we had some young kids step in and play really well, and that was really exciting for them. And we'll see what the future holds for us, but we're looking like, hey, maybe we are done losing guys right now. Maybe we got Blake Heckman back, the right tackle. That was a difference maker, I think, just having depth and size. And, he was, I think, would be the first to tell you he was in no game shape whatsoever and was kind of sloppy, but still nice to have him back.
Right. And it was homecoming at Friday night. So how was the environment? It's always a good environment when it's homecoming, isn't it?
We had a great crowd. I mean, we really did. And it was perfect night, just it's not the hot temps have checked back just a little bit. And so had a great crowd. It was fun, and looking forward to the next one.
How much does the homecoming or like a senior night, how much does that change your pregame routine, if any?
Like 5 minutes early. That's about it. We go out a few minutes early and get done a few minutes early, so we can do the same routine. You can. I mean, Friday you could feel the homecoming crew waiting for us to get off, so you can see them over there kind of tapping their foot at us, but it doesn't change us much at all.
Now, I noticed that you guys, you had your starting running back got a little bit nicked up, correct? And had to put in a backup, I guess your fourth running back of the season or third running back of the season.
Yeah.
And I know you worked another quarterback in a little bit Friday night. So talk a little bit about some of the changes and some of the younger guys that maybe got some opportunities last Friday night.
Yeah, so Price Davis got hit right on the hand, and he was in quite a bit of pain, but he's okay, fortunately. I don't think he played anymore after that play. It was uh, right at the beginning, or it was close to halftime.
Okay.
So towards the end of the second quarter when he got hit on it. And he was out and probably could have played in the second half. We were up 2 or 3 scores
right.
most of the game, so I felt comfortable not playing him.
Mm-hmm.
Ori Vananda Walker stepped in and played really well, ran the ball hard. He stuffed it in there. He ended up with 120 yards and 3 touchdowns. So
wow,
he had a pretty good 2.5 quarters, I guess.
That's pretty good. That's a full game work there.
Yeah. So he's just a sophomore. He's a tough, hard-nosed kid, and maybe is somebody that even with Price healthy, that could give us a nice change up of pace.
Right.
Maybe a little short yardage goal line type action. But he's still learning what to do, or he is for sure, and still has a long way to go. Price has more experience and more reps, but I do think that they'll work well together in the backfield. You can't go through a season with just one running back. We've never done that. We've already proven this year we have to have more than 2.
Right.
And we're fortunate to have the depth that we have there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've got another 1 or 2 more that I would feel good about. If they got all the reps in practice that week, we could win a bunch of games with. So,
sure.
But right now, I mean, with Price should be back. Should have no limitations this week in practice. So I think Price and Ori will probably, be sharing some of that load. And Price can also do some other things in the pass game for us too, if we had that opportunity. With Gage got out, we've really not had – we didn't feel like right away we had the opportunity to move Price around because we needed him in the backfield. But with Ori back there, we might be able to do a little bit more, be more creative.
Right. That always helps, right?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely does.
How about quarterback? I noticed you had it looked like a young guy got some reps there in the game. So talk a little bit about him.
Yeah, so Will Jones Will and Graham, they rotated at quarterback in the first half, and Will probably played more. Well, he did. He played more in the second half, and was just making good decisions, taking care of the football. And he had one throw I think he'd like to have back, but that could have been there had he used his eyes a little better. Safety just reading a freshman's eyes, it's part of it, part of the learning curve. But
that's right.
But he made some nice plays, made a good run with his feet, made a really nice throw on a deep ball, made some good decisions, and so he's going to continue to get better. And so will Graham Coulter, the junior who started the game. Graham started last week and played the whole game against West. And so one thing that we're really just looking for at the quarterback position is consistency. Right. And so Casey Cobble goes down, and so Graham gets to play, and then now Will's getting some reps. And so I don't know what Friday night's going to look like, but it's going to be interesting to see what the quarterback room looks like in a couple of weeks, and yes. So but Friday night Will went in and did some really good things for a 14-year-old.
Yeah,
to be out there, in charge of the huddle and playing quarterback for Maryville High School in meaningful snaps, not just in, garbage time, is pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, it really was. I watched some of the film, and if I didn't know it, you would have never been able to tell he was a freshman, with the exception of maybe like you said, a couple plays here or there where you would expect it from a freshman, but he
did
really well. I'm going to ask you an interesting question here that you can answer it how you want to answer it, but obviously you guys still in the hunt, as you said, no pun intended, still in the hunt for your goals. You've talked about that. They're all right in front of you, but how much in the back of your mind are you thinking, we got some really good young guys here that are starting to get some experience, and we could be really hard to beat in a couple of years. I mean, is that hard? Do you try to put that in the background, or are you just maybe a little bit glad that some of these guys are getting the opportunity so that you're going to have, pretty good depth coming up in the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's a good problem to have for sure. Anytime you have really good young guys, and it's also really hard for a coaching staff because you at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for the team.
Correct.
And so, and that's why I think Maryville's been so good for so long, is because we've not just played guys because of who they are, who their parents are, what year they are,
correct,
how much money they have, how long they've been with the program, that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, you have to play the best player,
right?
Whether they're 18 or 14,
right?
Whether they been here forever or not. That's hard to do when you've got juniors and seniors who have watched others of juniors and seniors before them pay their dues, wait their turn, and then get to be the star.
Right.
But maybe those guys were a little better. Maybe they didn't have a sophomore under them who was playing better than them, and so you can't compare apples to oranges. Every year's different, every player's different, and every position's different year to year. So at the end of the day, it's the coach's job to put the best product on the field. And so to make those decisions can be really tough. Right now, we do have some good young players. Because they're good doesn't mean that they're better than the senior or junior necessarily. And so and some people will say, if all things are equal, we're going to play the young guy. But I don't ever believe that all things are equal,
That's right.
And so there's always something that one of them may do better than the other one, or different than the other one, or what's more important. You may feel like they're equal, but if we're playing a game where experience is more important, the older guy is going to have that upper hand. So it's all going to come down to who gives us a better chance to win the football game, and that's who we've got to go with. Because if we don't, we're not doing what we should be doing for the football team.
No question. Yeah. And, I think it's hard sometimes for young kids and parents, especially, to realize that football is a meritocracy. It's not a union. Unions usually is seniority, but football, it's about, who performs, right? I mean, and that's the beauty of the game. It's what it's about. But
the film doesn't lie.
No, it doesn't. That's right.
That's the beauty of it. Is it's not. I mean, you can say it's subjective to an extent, but we have factual evidence that we're basing our decisions off of.
Correct.
And so it makes it, at least you have something to fall back on.
Yeah. The eye in the sky never lies, right?
That's right.
Another exciting feature that we'll be unveiling on our Main Street TV local sports break is the question of the week. Each week, we'll be choosing one question submitted by you, our viewers, to ask Coach Hunt. To submit your questions, subscribe to Main Street TV on YouTube and comment on this or any other of our local sports break videos, or follow us on Facebook or Instagram and comment on any of our local sports break posts. Then tune in each week, Thursdays at 7 p.m. on our Main Street TV YouTube channel to catch the new episode and maybe hear your question asked on the air. All right, let's shift gears and talk about some of these players. You've mentioned a couple of them already. Give me some guys defensively and offensively. And again, you have mentioned a few, but that you felt really had a good night Friday night.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's start with Hunter Olivet at linebacker, who had the first interception returned for a touchdown at the start of the game. That was huge, Ralph, because they won the toss and took the ball,
right?
And and so I think they got 3 first downs on the ground, back to back, and then we get a pick 6, and so you feel like you're taking their best punch in that first scripted part of the game,
right? And
they've had some success, and then they make a fatal error. Maybe not fatal, but it could have been. It might have been fatal because then we were able to go up 7, get the ball back, score again. We had the ball at halftime coming out of half, so we stole a possession and a touchdown. So it was like a 7-point advantage right out of the gate. That was a big play, and so really. Really happy that Hunter made it. He's a good kid, good player. He's getting better and better. Zach Campbell on defense is a nose for us, and he just kind of burst onto the scene this season, and he has been a terror. So really excited about his play and how he's been performing. I can't say enough about him. I thought on offensive side of the ball, Alex Boyd is our left tackle and somebody who just continues to play such a high level. And he's not had a game this year where we felt like, just wasn't really good. He's a junior.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to play in college one day. He's really good. And then also, Ori coming in at running back when Price kind of went down. And Ori had played a little bit, before Price even got hurt. So we were kind of giving him some reps to help, keep Price healthy and really, keep his legs under him, not tire him out too early. But Ori, we felt like had done enough in JV games to prove he deserved a shot on Friday night, but then he just made the most of it. And he, you got those kids, Ralph, that they almost take offense to having to play in a JV game.
Yeah.
And we really don't like that at Maryville because we treat JV games just like Friday nights. I mean, you'll have the whole staff down there. Everybody's coaching their butts off. It is a huge deal to our football program to coach our freshman games and our JV games with the same coaches that coach on a Friday night. And so we treat it like it's the real deal. And I think it was Coach Joe Robinette had said, he said Friday night after the game, Ori, he'd been playing on Friday nights like someone who was trying to prove that he deserved to play he'd been playing on Monday nights like somebody who deserved and was trying to prove that he could play on Friday nights. And that's what Monday, you say that to the kids all the time. Hey, show us on a Monday night why you should be playing on Friday night. Right. And it doesn't always happen that way. And some of them still got to go through the motions and they're dead set in their head. They're just going to wait until it's their junior, senior year when it's their time. Instead of going and making it happen.
Right.
Ori had been so impressive the previous Monday night. It was like, gee whiz, we got to play him some on a Friday and see what it looks like. And he answered the bell. And so, we'll see what this next week looks like. Can he continue to do that? I hope so. Yeah,
and I'm sure you've translated or relayed that story to the kids too about how important that is. To give it the best shot on a Monday night.
Absolutely.
Excuse me. We've talked about offense and defense. I think sometimes we neglect to talk about special teams. Give me some guys on your special teams units that you feel, obviously they don't get a lot of attention unless something bad happens usually. So give me some guys that you feel have really done a good job on special teams.
Yes, absolutely. So Max Sear is a kid that moved to Maryville this summer from Idaho, and he's a sophomore. And he kicks it in the end zone, probably 3/4 of the time. That's a huge deal. I'd love for him to get to 100%, but it's amazing the correlation between a good defense and a good kicker.
Right.
Because when you can pin them deep and make them go 80 yards in high school, that's hard unless there's just an imbalance of talent and it doesn't matter. But
correct.
When you've got two good teams and you can make the other offense travel 80 yards to score every time, versus getting a big return and they're at midfield or better. And that's what I tell our coaches all the time. Our defense, if people don't realize the correlation between how good our defense is and whether or not we can kick the ball in the end zone.
Right.
And so anyway, so he's been a huge help, a huge get for us. Max Sear. And then I really think Cohen Babley, he's been our holder, and he's the first guy probably in a long time who legit is a natural holder. You know what I mean? Like,
really?
He's got great hands. He's a catcher in baseball.
All right, there you go.
And so obviously a good baseball player too, but he's got great hands, and he's somebody that we feel really good about. And then Hudson Jamerson has been our kicker this year, and so he's just a sophomore as well. But just he's played goalie for the soccer team. And so he's just got a boot, and we've got some other kickers who I think we've got 3 or 4 kickers who we really feel good about.
Now, did they,
so Preston Trenum's another one who could really do a good job if his number were called.
I'm sorry, give me his name again. I might have been talking over you.
That's okay. Preston Trenum, he's a junior that he's kind of right in the thick of it, as could be a kickoff guy, could kick field goals for us too. So we've got some depth there.
Right. Good. Now, tell me, in high school, do you still use the block on extra points, or have they taken that away?
Most of them still use it. Yeah.
Okay. And your guys would use it as well?
Our guys use it, yeah, and that's Mike White always throws the Arnold Palmer quote out there: is if they're going to let you use a tee on a par three, you ought to use it. So it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same. That might have been it's either Palmer or Nicholas. I can't remember which one said
Doesn't
it.
matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter,
Yeah,
right?
but they're both the GOAT, you know.
That's right.
But yeah, if they're going to let you use a tee on a par three, you got to use it. And so it's kind of the same idea. If they're still letting you use blocks in high school, you better use it. So
Yeah, I
I
would.
don't know if that
The only
makes sense or at all, but Mike says it and it's funny. So I think I've always used it.
Hey, anytime Mike says something, you got to, you know, he's the Yogi Berra of Maryville High School, right?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
No, the only reason I asked about the block is I know why they used to use it when most of the fields were grass, right? Because you got, you know, high school kickers, but now with turf, it seems a little odd. But yeah, if they're going to let you use it, go ahead and use it, right?
Yeah. Get you a lift, I guess. Get a little lift on the ball.
Exactly. All right, let's shift gears again now and talk about this coming Friday night. You guys will be going on the road again to face Hardin Valley. Hardin Valley is a region game, so they've had their record is the same as yours, but the teams they've played a little bit different. You know, they've played at Morristown East, they've played Cocke County, teams that probably not are in the upper echelon, and then they got beat by Halls, a very good football team, and then of course. Also got beat by Bearden, a very good football team. So talk a little bit about Hardin Valley.
Yeah, Hardin Valley is much improved from the last couple of years. Coach Minner is taking over that program, and I think he's got on the right track. They've changed their offense. They're more of a wing tee type style on offense.
Really? Interesting.
Yep. And defensively, they're flying around. They had Bearden just like, I don't know, 13-9 at halftime. I mean,
Yeah.
it was they were in that game for a little bit. So that's the most impressive thing when you flip on the film right now is you can tell, listen, this team's playing hard.
Mhm.
And when you get kids playing hard, you're going to have a chance to win a lot more games. And so, yeah, I've been impressed with them. They've got a quarterback who can absolutely fly. And so he'll roll out, you know, and he's going to throw the ball, and he might flip directions and, you know, turn the field over, and he can run. I mean, he can move. So they've got some you can tell they've probably got some kids out of the hallways at Hardin Valley, some different kids and new numbers and new faces. So, you know, it's exciting. You know, I honestly believe that we have the best region in the state of Tennessee, the toughest region, and it's in the state. You know, and that we've looked at all over the state in 6A and 5A, which, you know, that's where all your most of your better teams are going to be. There's certainly some good teams like Alco and 3A and 4, some good 4A teams, but the region top to bottom, you know, is probably pretty weak. 5A, 6A though, I don't think there's anybody that, like, Bradley is undefeated. You know, Bearden as good as they are. You know who they've played. You know, Hardin Valley much improved. You know, Farragut has beat some. They've got some great wins so far this year, and then Cleveland I think is 4-1. And then you got Maryville sitting at 3-2, you know, so it's like, gee whiz, this region is tough. And so, you know, for Hardin Valley to improve, though, just makes it that much better.
How difficult is it when you face a wing tee? Obviously, it's not something that you see a lot anymore. So obviously, you've got to change quite a few things. So tell me how difficult that is in practice to get your guys to all of a sudden go from one style of play to a different style of play.
Definitely going to be a challenge because it's mostly mental. You know, it's mental and trust. You know,
trust your read, right?
those DNs and linebackers and even safeties and corners when they have to fit in, you've got to trust that even what you're doing may or may not make the play, but if you don't do it, you definitely will not make the play.
Right.
You have to trust that if I do my job, the guy behind me is going to do his, and we're okay.
Right.
And listen, it's hard that's why the wing tee's been so successful in high school football.
Yes. Yeah.
And not in the pros.
Right.
Because you teach those guys in the pros to do exactly what they should do to stop it, and everybody does their job, and defense will probably win.
Right.
But in high school, you have guys who want to go do their own thing. They're going to run to the football, make the play, and a lot of times you can do that and get away with it, but not against a wing T, or at least somebody who's really good at it. So it's going to be tough, and I don't think for a second that Hardin Valley was really smart and had this in mind. Listen, if they're going to be behind the 8 ball,
Sure.
why not do something completely different than everybody else was running to make it hard to prepare for? You can probably win more games that way. So
yeah.
I don't blame them one bit.
Yeah, no question. And then you also, as you alluded to, it gives you a chance, if you're Hardin Valley, to shorten games, and keep them close. Like you said, 13-9 with Bearden at halftime. So it gives you more of an opportunity to stay in games. So that'll be a challenge for you guys. Health-wise, I mean, you've touched on a few of them, but overall, outside of what you've already mentioned, you came out of the game fairly healthy. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay,
yeah, we didn't have anybody that I don't think will miss any more time this week, and so that was a positive. I think that's the first game this year that we've gotten through the whole game, without losing somebody for an extended period of time. So excited about that. I hope our fortune is turning, and we can start getting some of these guys back. Maybe, I don't know. We got, like I said, we got one back in Blake Heckman, and so the other guys, it'll probably be towards the end of the year at best case. It's hard to tell.
Well, as you know, I mean, I think you guys, you fought through a lot of adversity already this season. You're starting to get guys back, as you said. You got some young guys now that are starting to contribute, and I think things will be looking up. Okay, question for our fans. Obviously, most fans come to the game on Friday night and they see the game, and then they go home and they argue or complain about what happened, and then they come back out the next Friday night. So for the fans, how does your week look like? How do you guys structure a week of practice to get ready for Friday night?
Yeah, so Monday is our kind of an install day, and we do a couple periods where it's good on good, which means your first defense against your first offense, and it's not pointed really towards any kind of game planning. You're just trying to play football and get those guys playing at a high speed.
Right.
And then as soon as that period's over, you get into the install part and talking about the other team, what they like to do. We actually start before we even get on the field and watch film. We watch the previous game with our guys and try to correct any mistakes that were made and show them where we can be better. And then once we get on the field, we go through Tuesday and Wednesday, our work days. So we're a ton of reps. I think we probably run over 100 reps on offense on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, each. So that's a lot of football plays. Now, a lot of it's the same stuff over and over again.
Right.
But we get a ton of reps, and it's Tuesdays and Wednesdays kind of sometimes feel like a longer day. Thursday's a shorter day. It's more of a mental day. Obviously we're still out there on the field, but we're not in full pads and we're not banging each other. It's a mental day. We're trying to be very sharp and, fine tune everything before we get out there on Friday and play. So, the great thing about football is, different than basketball and baseball is, when you're playing each week, so you can get into a routine and practice.
Right.
Where basketball, you're kind of all over the place because you might play on Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Thursday. Same with baseball. You're playing 3 or 4 or 5 games a week sometimes. So, but we get to get into that routine, and we're always tweaking drills and even timings of practice to try to make it more efficient. So that's one thing that I kind of obsess over, is to make sure we're not standing around wasting time and trying to maximize reps with our kids.
And you don't do a lot of full contact during the season, do you?
Not during the season. We do a little bit in the preseason now, probably more. We did more this year than we had done in a long time. I just felt like we've got to be better at tackling. We're playing a bunch of new kids. We got to learn more faster, find out who's going to be able to do it. So, but once we get into the season, we call it thud, which is full speed, but you're wrapping up and the whistle stops you. You're not taking your own guy completely to the ground, because that's usually when it's full tackle. If there's going to be injuries, that's when it's going to happen. And so I think our kids have done a pretty good job of understanding, all right, it's thud drill. We're going to go hard, but not hurt our own guys. But now when it's a game, it's full speed to the ground.
It's funny. It's funny. Most high schools follow that philosophy now. I mean, maybe with a little bit of a different tweak here and there. But
Sure.
back when I was in high school, of course, back in the dark ages, the early '70s, our coach instituted that kind of program, which was totally new to everybody, right? I mean, we
Really?
almost the same thing you just said. And
Yeah.
most of these other high schools, all they would do is come out and scrimmage Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, just scrimmage,
Yep.
and then Friday night they were either beat up or tired
Yep.
or whatever, and we just
Yep.
wear them out. So
Yep.
it's interesting how football evolves and how now everybody kind of realizes that you don't want to beat your kids up during the
Yeah.
week.
No, you're exactly right. And even our thudded practices can get physical. We're
Sure.
doing inside drill, and then we're doing a team session on offense, and then on
Right.
defense, you're doing a team session. So, sometimes I even feel like we're still doing too much scrimmaging and not enough individual fundamentals, teaching stuff like that. And so
Right.
there's definitely a middle ground.
Right. Well, Derek, we appreciate your time. Great win. Guys are 3-2 on your way here, midpoint of the season, I guess. Wish you the best of luck this week against Hardin Valley, and we'll hook up again with you next week to talk about the following game.
Sounds good. Can't wait. Thank you so much, Ralph.
Welcome back to the Main Street TV Local Sports Break. Hi, I'm your host, Ralph Miranda. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode with Coach Derek Hunt, the head football coach of the Maryville Rebels. We talked about their big win over Science Hill last week, 37-18, a homecoming win for the Rebels. Talked a little bit about that. We talked some about the players, the guys that got an opportunity Friday night, freshmen and sophomores, and also the guys that have been playing well all along. We talked about offense, defense, special teams, and all the performers that Coach Hunt and his staff have been very pleased with this year. Then we move on to Hardin Valley. We talked a little bit about the Hawks, 3-2, region game for Maryville on the road this week at Hardin Valley, and a little bit about their wing T offense, which is very difficult to prepare for many defenses in high school football. So hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Make sure you stay with us, like us on YouTube, and stay with us for next week's edition. For our producer, Nathan Miranda, for Coach Derek Hunt, I'm Ralph Miranda, and we'll see you next week.